just a little tenderness at the end of the day is all a woman.
There are many sources of information on the subject of fertility, but we don't always know for sure what is true and what's not. That's when it's time to ask a professional. So zooming in now to help us dispel some myths about fertility and female reproductive health, because sometimes it's a male as well, is a gynecologist, Dr. Chrisanne Simpson Harley. Morning, Doc. Welcome to Smile Jamaica. How are you?
I'm good, Delia. How are you? You look lovely.
Thank you, and you look absolutely amazing as well. All right,
Thank
I'm
you.
excited about this segment, Doc.
Yes.
So let's get into it. First myth. Women can't get pregnant after 35.
Definitely a myth. Okay. So, even though we know that fertility does decrease as a woman ages, and it decreases by percentages as women get older,
Right.
it's definitely a myth that women can get pregnant over the age of 35. As a matter of fact, what we're finding is that a lot more women are delaying fertility because, we're trying to achieve career, just our goals
Right.
before having children.
Right.
And we find that in many countries, we're finding women starting pregnancy or starting their families later. So yes, women can get pregnant quite easily over the age of 35. It's just that, that fertility rate decreases as a woman gets older because the ovaries age and the eggs age, so the eggs get older. So, that likelihood of pregnancy decreases over time.
All right, there's another myth that says, you'll hear a lot of people say, listen, I'm not going to use birth control because birth control can also affect my fertility rate. It can make me infertile. True or false?
Definitely false. As a matter of fact, you have contraceptives. A lot of contraceptives are protective in terms of a woman's fertility. So for example, oral contraceptives decreases the likelihood of having endometriosis or complications from endometriosis by suppressing the growth of something that can potentially block the tubes and create a lot of what we call pelvic issues.
Right.
What we find also is that oral contraceptives, you're not ovulating regularly, so that helps to protect your ovarian volume, so how much eggs that you have, because you're not ovulating every month when you're on contraceptives like that. So they do tend to have protective effects.
Yeah.
It's definitely one of those misconceptions, and it's something that we have to dispel every day in office.
Wow.
When women come to speak
Come to
with
see
us.
you, because when you try to
Yes.
say, you try to prescribe them, they're saying, no, I'm not taking them, doc. What are you saying? Irregular menstrual cycle equals infertility.
Definitely not. When you have an irregular menstrual cycle, it just means potentially that you're not producing an egg all the time. But there are times that you can produce an egg, and once you produce an egg, there is the potential to get pregnant. So what it does, it can delay pregnancy when you have irregular cycles, but it definitely does not say that you are infertile. So, women with PCOS often have this concern. So PCOS is polycystic ovarian syndrome. Those are women that don't ovulate every month.
Right.
Normally, and they always come in thinking that they can't get pregnant. And then sometimes they don't go on contraceptive when they're not ready to get pregnant. And then they come in like, surprise. And I'm saying you can get pregnant. So definitely a myth.
Definitely a myth. If you already have a child, you don't have to worry about infertility. I hear that all the time,
It as well, right? Because we do find there is something that we call secondary infertility, because anything can happen over time. So for example, say a woman had a child and then she developed an infection which created inflammation in the uterus and the tubes. She could have ended up with blocked tubes after that first baby for whatever reason, and then she's unable to get pregnant thereafter. There are a lot of things that can potentially delay fertility or affect fertility after having children. So that is a myth as well.
Yeah, and I've seen situations where there are couples and the woman will say, No, well, I know I'm not the problem because I already have a child, so it can't be me. Why we're not having another
And the
one?
men say that too.
Men
And
say
the
the
men say
exact
that
same
too.
thing. Yes, they do.
Yes, the men say that too. Yes.
Exact
So
same thing.
definitely is such a big misconception
Yes, yes.
because over time things change. People get older. A woman can develop a chronic illness, or a man can develop a chronic illness that affects their fertility. So no, that's a huge misconception.
Huge miss. All right. Here's another one. Miscarriages run in families. So people say, this is a family issue, so you have to be careful, or maybe not bother try because it's a family issue. That's a myth, eh?
It is a myth. There are very uncommon cases that we'll find that some families may have genetic syndromes that may predispose to potentially miscarriages or so, but that is very, very, very uncommon.
Mm-hmm.
And remember that in terms of genetic, for you to get pregnant, you're deriving genetic material from two sources,
right,
and not just one. Right. So, if the one spouse is otherwise healthy, the other spouse may have come from, a history of some genetic, issue, they can still achieve a healthy pregnancy. Yes. So that is, throw that one out.
Yeah. Fertility is always related to women. You see me roll my eye?
Yes, roll my eyes and kiss my teeth, Bailey. So, that is something that, as gynecologists, we definitely have to face in the office, because women generally tend to be more health seeking than men. And the women will come and do their test, and many of them, there is no issue. Mm-hmm. But we do find, so studies have shown in the States, for example, because they would have some of the biggest studies, that 8% of couples infertility, it's male related.
Right.
And we're seeing that even more frequently in Jamaica, where a lot of couples come in, we do the test, our ladies are fine, but the men have either lower sperm count, or the sperm don't move, their motility is slow. Mm-hmm. And then that affects fertility significantly. So definitely a misconception. And when we're counseling couples, we usually say it takes two to make a baby, and right, both parties really should be tested if there is an issue.
So here we go with another one. Men don't have a biological clock.
They actually do have a biological clock. Oh, life is fair. It's just that the biological clock tends to be, a little more delayed than ours. Our biological clock ticks a little faster than theirs. Right. But they do experience, as they age, decreased testosterone levels, which will decrease, their ability to produce sperm. And not just that, as men get older, the quality of sperm also decreases. Just like when a woman gets older, the quality of her egg will decrease. It's the same with men. Right? And then chronic illnesses, as men get older, women get older, you develop hypertension, diabetes, all of those things can affect fertility quite significantly. So yes, they do have a biological clock.
Yes. Doc, always great talking to you.
Thank you so much for having me.
No, thank you. And I hope some folks are really listening to some of those fertility myths. And as I always like to say, the best thing, ladies, is to go and see your gynecologist.
And men.
Well, they see their doctor, not the gynecologist. All right, gynecologist, Dr. Chrisanne Simpson Harley. Soon to come, we still got Girl Talk, talking about male privilege. Yeah, this is Smile Jamaica. We'll be right back.
Just a little tenderness at the end.